Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I haven't uploaded in ages. I was doing GCSEs and I got in the way. Anyway, now I'm going to be doing a 3-part series on learning the very basics of Blender, and in the end we'll come out with this lovely pencil render. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, the first thing, when you open Blender you'll see a splash screen like this. So you can just click off that splash screen. I'll give you a couple of settings if you want to change them. I wouldn't change any of them. And when you're first in, you'll see this. If you scroll, you can zoom in and out. And if you hold down your middle mouse button and move your mouse, you can orbit. Those are basic controls you'll be using the most, as well as holding left shift and moving the middle mouse to move the camera around. That is how in Blender you can move around and view different objects. So what we'll be modelling today is a pencil. It's going to be a very basic model, and it's going to use a couple of simple tricks like extruding, beveling and using some booleans. And so yes, let's get started with that. So the first thing you want to do is, you'll see these things across here. You can see you can move stuff, rotate stuff, scale stuff, and all of them at once if you want to. But the thing I think every Blender user should do is they should learn to use hotkeys. So the hotkey for moving is G, the hotkey for rotating is R, and the hotkey for scaling is S. So with that you can work a lot faster in Blender, and so that's what we'll be using today. I'll be telling you how else you can do it, but I'll be using hotkeys most of the time. And you can press X to delete stuff. So yes, delete the first cube by pressing X and deleting it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a cylinder. This is going to be the body of our pencil. It's going to have 6 sides, so it's not really going to be a cylinder, it's going to be more of a hexagon. So you can go up here to the add menu up here and go to mesh, and you can add all these different shapes. But a quicker way of doing this is just to go Shift A, and that brings up the add menu, which was up there, right down here wherever you're going. So you can go down to cylinder, and there it is. You can see now that we have a cylinder. And don't click yet once you've added a cylinder, because there'll be this little drop down here. You can open up this drop down and you can see the vertices of the cylinder. So what you can do once you see the vertices of the cylinder, you can just bring this down and you can see it go through all the different prisms. It can even be a triangle at the very least. So what we want to do, because we're making just a normal HB sort of pencil, we could just add 6 sides to this, and that gives us this lovely hexagon. And also the depth down here, we can make this a little longer, so maybe I'd say 20 meters. Yeah, that looks alright. And yeah, now we can click off, and now this is all set and ready to go. We'll first make the end of our pencil. So what we can do is we can go up to our pencil and press tab to go into edit mode. Now because obviously this pencil is really tiny, we should probably keep it to real world proportions. So I'm just going to scale it down so it's quite small. When things are smaller, the light reacts to them in a different way, so that's why you should always make things smaller in Blender. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to select the top face of this cylinder, but you can see it only selects in the corners. You can move these corners with G. Okay, so now that we've scaled down our pencil, the first thing you can do is you can use one of the very basic tools in Blender, which is beveling. Beveling is basically rounding out edges, but in this case it can be used to create the top of our pencil. So we can go Control B, and as you can see it is now sort of rounded out those edges, and it's almost come to a point. We're not doing a point on this side, we're doing a point on the other side, so we'll be using another method. You can scroll to add more definition to this rounding out curve. So what we want to do is we want to bevel to it's nice and small and give it a good amount of edges. And now we can press SZ on these edges to sort of flatten it out. And that's a lot like the top of a pencil. I'll put a picture next to it. So yeah, that's how we can create the top. A very good method called beveling. And obviously remember to scale it down, you press S, and then if you want to scale something a select way, you'll press S and then Z, or S and X, or S and Y. And then you can even put the amount you want it to scale by. So if I want to turn this entire pencil, I can press tab to go out of edit mode so I can rotate the entire pencil. I can press R to rotate it, press R to rotate it, and you can press X to rotate it along the X axis, and then I can press 90, type 90 on my keyboard to rotate it 90 degrees, and I can click to confirm that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the point of the pencil. Now obviously we could go to tab, and yes, obviously we could go to face selection mode and extrude this out with E, and then press S and scale it down all the way. It will go S0 to scale it down to an infinite point. But that sort of leaves you with this really weird looking sharp pencil point. And pencils in real life, obviously they're sharpened, so it's round, this bottom bit. So a good way of doing that is by using something called booleans, which is basically like a cutout from another object. So right now I'm going to press H to hide this entire pencil. And we're going to work on something. So you can press Shift A to add in a cube. Here's the cube. And then press Shift A again and add in a cone. You can press GZ to move this cone upwards. And then we can press RX 180 to turn it upside down. And press Enter to confirm that. You can now scale this down slightly. And then press SZ a bit to make it a bit steeper, more like a pencil's point. We can also scale this cube up a bit. We can move this down, press GZ until it's intersecting into the cube, just like this. Now we can click on the cube. We're going to add modifier, add a boolean modifier, and you can then use this eyedropper tool and click on your cone. Now you can't see this right now because the cone is still in the cube. But if we hide the cone by pressing H, you can see that the cone's cutout is in the cube. So I can press Ctrl Z to undo and unhide that cone. We can go back to these modifiers. We can go to this little drop down right here and go and apply that modifier. Once the modifier is applied, it changes the entire geometry of the cube, so that if I move this out of the way now, we can see that that intersect is still there. So we can now delete this cone, press X and delete it, or right click on it and delete, it doesn't matter. And so yeah, now we've got this cutout right here. So we can unhide our cylinder, which is our pencil. It's a lot smaller, remember? So it is there, it's down here. And now you can see, we can now go to this cube, scale it down. It's essentially acting like a pencil sharpener, and we can move it, G, over to pencil. You can go use this view. You can also use this to move around, but you can use it to go to exact views. So you can move this exactly in front of a pencil, or we can go to the location tab and type in 0 in all of these, and you can move it using in all of these to reset it to the origin point. You can scale it down some more. It's about the width of the pencil. Move it along the x-axis by going G, Y, or using the movement tools, and then going RX 90 to move the cone part to here. So it's essentially acting like a pencil sharpener. We can now press this view up here to go to X-ray mode, so we can see where it's intersecting. So you can only see it's only intersecting a little bit, so we can move this G, Y along the y-axis, and there we go. So now everything outside of this, we're going to use another boolean modifier to cut off. So go out of, and so now we can click on our pencil and go to add modifier, boolean modifier, just like before, difference, and then you can use the little eyedropper tool to select our cube. So now you can see it's a lot more like a pencil is. And if you compare that, and we can move this around obviously to cut out different parts of it. So if we're not quite happy with the way it looks, for example, it's not an exact point, we can go GY and just move it a little more. So it is perfectly pointy. And so once we're happy with how it is on the inside, you can go and apply this modifier, get rid of the cube, go out of X-ray mode by clicking the button again. There you can see we have a lovely sharpened pencil. So yeah, this wraps it up for the first video, just some basic modelling tools, and the next video will be on materials. So yeah, thanks for watching.